What's up, everyone? Welcome to Fourth and Average. We're, Chris and Cody today. Prevo's off on vacation because he's a loser. People don't really take vacations if they're serious about the podcast game, which we're
Yeah,
definitely not
I hope you
serious
stub
about.
your toe for real. Um,
No, he's definitely on a snowboarding trip, so I hope he's having fun.
yeah,
But we're just going to hop on here today. We're going to talk more about coaching hirings recently, kind of more of like a gut reaction. Cody's got a list for us. We're going to go through each one, see what our off the dome take is, maybe go in a little bit more detail. Then towards the end of the show, we're going to go back into kind of a little bit of a preview. We are of the AFC NFC championship games, but of course we kind of already hit that. So we're going to be focused more on like betting lines and what Cody likes and some of the things that he sent me earlier today. So with that, I'll go ahead and kick it over to you, Cody. What is the first name you got for us on that coaching hire list?
all right. Well, I'll just run through the list really quick, and we can kind of do rapid fire.
Okay.
What we think best, worst situation, most
I like it.
interesting. So,
I like it.
Patriots, Mike Vrabel. Bears, Ben Johnson. Jets, Aaron Glenn. Jaguars with Liam Cohen. The Raiders, out of nowhere, hired Pete Carroll, and then Cowboys got Brian Schottenheimer.
Hey, he's not just Brian anymore. So I think Jerry Jones, I'm just going to go ahead and start with that. I think that was the funniest moment of the day. Jerry Jones, again, proving he is incapable as an owner, as a GM, as a president, whatever he is, the dark Sith Lord of the Dallas Cowboys. Um, I think he's losing it, Cody. I think that whole line there where he said he's not Brian anymore, he is the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. So I guess he has to legally change his name.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it doesn't help. Jerry is the oldest general manager in the National Football League, and we also know that without a doubt, when Jerry decides to finally retire, which that will never happen,
Correct.
it'll get passed on to his son, who once his son takes charge, he will be the second oldest general manager in the National Football League.
Ooh.
So it's I don't I don't see it getting any better anytime soon for the Cowboys, in my opinion. So
I
I think
mean,
that's kind of why they had decided to go in house with Schottenheimer. Would you agree with that stance?
I would agree. I think just the way Jerry Jones has handled himself, I don't think a lot of coaches want to go there at all. I think they had the right guy. I think in Mike McCarthy because he was the only guy willing to take a job because he was out of the NFL.
Jerry's more worried about the light coming into the stadium than his players catching touchdowns. So
and
that
if
kind of tells you what
he
you know.
this would have been if he wanted an inside hire, it should have been done a lot earlier with the whole Jason Garrett regime and everything, and even towards the beginning of Mike McCarthy's rule, is it should have been Kellen Moore. That should have been a switch a long time ago.
I
I
agree.
think I think that would have been a slam dunk.
That could have been such a natural transition for them after McCarthy's contract had ran up because you
Correct.
know Jerry's not going to pay anybody not to work. He's not going to take all those void years on a coach's contract and just pay him to go coach somewhere else. He's
Correct.
either going to let you run out his contract or you're going to coach his team. There's no in between.
Exactly. Exactly. I don't know. I mean, I don't want to spend too much longer on it because it's the
No.
Cowboys being the Cowboys. I mean, they're going to do exactly this or worse next year. I mean, maybe in this era, this Brian Brian era, the Dallas Cowboys football head coach. Um, I think the best they get is probably something that happened last season to where it's like they look really good in the regular season. Nobody can stay healthy. They start to choke. Dak can't string two good games together in a row, and it just starts to fall apart. And that's, I think, the best it gets for the Cowboys. Yeah, by
No,
going
I agree. So, what would you say, in your opinion, is the most interesting hire outside of that one? Because I feel like not even anyone, as far as like Joe Brady or anyone else, was brought in for an interview with the Cowboys. So
I
that one's, I
think
mean, I'll just go ahead and say that is the worst appointment in my opinion.
right. I would say the most interesting, just from the situation that's going on, is the Liam Cohen.
For sure,
Um,
for sure, for sure.
a lot of stuff being thrown back and forth. Obviously, you had him.
Secret double agent type stuff.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, Bucks fans, even though I mean I get it. I mean, I do. I'm one of those people that are like, you know, you got to stick to your word. I mean, sometimes in a world, if you have nothing left, like, but you have your word, at least you got something. That man was, if the reports are true, that man was very set on telling everybody he's staying as the OC for the Bucks. Hey, Boots, that's my cat. Um, Staying with the Bucks, and just the vibes were great. And then at the end of the day, it's the only color that matters is green. So with the Jaguars offer, I think on the other side, you're dumb not to take it. I
Oh,
don't know. What do you
100%.
think?
No,
Okay.
I say you're never going to get this chance at one potentially running a team again. You're never guaranteed to have this type of success again in your life. Look at Bobby Slowick this past season. He
Yeah.
was a hot shot candidate coming out of Houston last year. Had an interview with the Panthers, our team. He had an interview with multiple teams, but he stayed in Houston one more year,
Mm-hmm.
and his resume kind of went downhill from there. So
Right.
I respect it on Liam Cohen's part as far as get your bag.
That's true. You don't know that.
You don't know if you're ever going to have this chance again.
Well, us being Panthers fans, look what happened with Ajero
Yeah.
Vera. It's like we're sitting there last year. He took a like really bad defense still last year. Made us a borderline top 15, top 16 defense in the league, and he was looking at fielding head coaching offers. And now look at this season, letting up the most
Points
points
in
in
NFL
NFL.
history.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. I
There's no
agree
way
with
to
it.
sugarcoat it. So.
I think the best way to kind of get over it if you're a Bucks fan is just, hey, he went to the Jaguars. I mean, it's not like I don't think they're going to be doing much. They had that one with Blake Bortles where they had an excellent defense that year when they went to the AFC Championship game,
Oh yeah, for
lost
sure. No,
and everything. But that ain't going to happen.
but I said
Ain't going to happen.
they have all the draft picks on the defensive side, but they have to start showing out. So we'll see.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Go ahead with the next one. What do you think?
I mean, for me, just like the most cut dry, like I feel like in every universe this was going to happen. You could have slammed so much money on this Mike Vrabel to the
I
Patriots.
That was exactly where my head was going when
Like
you were saying that.
he is Bill Belichick reincarnated.
Yep.
Besides, the 6 Super Bowls,
Yeah.
he is the true Belichick prodigy. As you could tell, everyone thought it was potentially going to be Gerard Mayo. It was even put into his contract that he was going to be the Belichick predecessor.
Yep.
And they decided to abandon ship after a year. So
Yeah, which I think rightfully so. I think Gerard Mayo, I think he makes a great linebackers and defensive coordinator. Get him to a team that probably needs one. Maybe hey, Panthers might need a linebacker coach. You know what I mean? If he's available,
yeah.
obviously he's already tasted the head coaching role. He's not going to take probably anything less, but I think again, like you said, it's the most cut and dry. I think you pair. I compare Drake May to a Ryan Tannehill if he was accurate. You know what I'm trying to say as far as
Okay,
athletic
I can see
enough, his
that. Yeah.
arm. I think Mike Vrabel already has his quarterback. It's a great situation, I think, for Vrabel. It's not too far removed from what he knows as the Patriot way, next man up mentality. Belichick's only been gone for one season. So you're kind of sitting there like, all right, well, go ahead, like you said, stick him in there. That's part of that system and everything. Even though Gerard Mayo was that guy, Mike Vrabel lived and breathed it and was able to institute it very effectively in Tennessee. So he's already been proven. He's brought that team to the playoffs so many times. Yes, he fell short, but it wasn't due to coaching. I think that's just due to free agency and they couldn't get the talent into the door. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? But now you have a what appears to be a great rookie quarterback, and you have
Who,
some talent.
let's
Go
be
ahead.
honest here, he doesn't have the weapons around him right now. So if you're
Exactly.
able to use this cap space, if you have coming up in free agency, to either surround him with weapons or build through the trenches, because I think that's another part that people are missing is that this was a bad offensive line going into this season.
Yes, very bad.
I think if I remember correctly, turned out the most offensive line lineups in the NFL this year. They just couldn't have anyone stay healthy, and when they were healthy, they weren't performing.
I was gonna say, even I think preseason they were ranked preseason ranked number 27th, even with everybody healthy. I
But
think
the
the
only
starters
notable name
was
that I even know on that line is on Winu, and even then they had him at left tackle when he's naturally a right tackle. So
exactly.
it
So
was never going to work out.
and it's not just the interior like it is with the Panthers. It's the whole thing. I mean, they got to figure it out, make him go back to his original spot at right, and then get a true left tackle. And I think you start building from there. But Yeah, no, I think it's a slam dunk hire. I'm surprised it didn't make as much noise, but I think it's because we all expected it. It was kind of just announced, and then his press conference happened, and all right, Mike
Yes.
Vrabel's the head coach. So it
I
wasn't.
mean, and then to a lesser degree, but I definitely could see this happening with both of these guys, and I feel like we can just kind of rattle off both of them at the same time. And that's Ben Johnson to the Bears and Aaron Glenn to the Jets.
Absolutely. Aaron
Uh,
Glenn, I think he
Aaron Glenn
was
being a former Jets player, he was drafted by them. Whenever he got started in his coaching career, he became a scout for the Jets early on.
right. Right.
So
Yep.
he is a Jet through and through. I think, especially with him going there, he is going to be able to maximize what is a strength on that team, which is the defensive side of the ball. He
Yes.
just needs to make sure that he surrounds himself with good offensive minded people, even though, yes, he himself has came up with the quote, and I do believe this to be true, that he is a coach. He
Right.
is not a defensive coach.
Right.
So if he's able to get someone that is able to focus on the offensive side, so that way he can continue progressing in this defensive side of the ball, so that way he can use all of these players to their full potential this upcoming year and going forward, I think that would be best for him. Same thing with Ben Johnson on the opposite side, which he has already done that with Dennis Allen.
Yeah.
He basically
That was
has a
big.
head coach on the opposite side. Granted, apparently the offensive side in New Orleans hated Dennis Allen, but that's now why he's coaching the defensive side only. So it'll
Which is
work out.
fine because I think he can learn from that. I think that's so important to hire a former head coach as a coordinator, or at least a
Very
former
true.
head coach
Yes,
on your
for
staff
sure.
if you're a first time head coach. And I think Aaron Glenn's going to make the right decision. I don't know if I don't really see any rumors, or I'm just not looking hard enough as far as anybody that Aaron Glenn's looking at to fill some of those vacant roles. Aaron Glenn's a smart guy. What he was able to do with that Lions defense with all those players out, and not just first string, but you got your second string going out too, and him being able to just go that far, with it and have a top half of the league defense when you should, by all means, have a great excuse to have a bottom half. And you did
Yeah.
not end up having that. So, I mean, props to him. He's going to make the smart decision. Same with Ben Johnson. I think we're going to, I hope for the Bears' sake and for Bears fans out there that the offense is fun. I hope he restores the locker room. And I think one thing I was discussing with another person the other day is, the problem is you look at that locker room at the end of the year for the Bears. I mean, DJ Moore was walking off the field early. You had people throwing their hands up like, "What are we doing? Like this
You
is
had players
unreal."
celebrating before the ball ever got snapped.
Right. So I'm hoping, even though he might not, I don't know if he is, and it was probably just from what I've seen, Dan Campbell that had control of the Lions locker room because he is a locker room guy, Dan Campbell. I just wonder if Ben Johnson learned something from Dan Campbell enough to regenerate that locker room. And then even if he didn't, maybe it's just this electric young guy coming in here that we have Caleb Williams, DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, all these weapons, Roma Dunze, like let's revamp this offense. And it could, who knows? I mean, to be honest, I think I think the Bears could still be really bad because it's the Bears and they could screw it up.
It is the
But
Bears, so we can't forget that part.
the sky is the limit if you have talent. And if Caleb Williams, which I am not a fan of, and I think he will be a bust, it's not an attitude thing. I see some things towards the end of games that kind of give me concern as far as his pocket presence and his drifting. And then there's like no point to his drifting. Like Pat Mahomes drifts in the pocket, but there's a point
It's
to
the
it.
growing of the maturity and the
Correct.
quarterback mindset, not being an
Correct.
athlete, being a quarterback.
Exactly. So, which he is, fantastic athlete, but it's like Lamar was able to figure it out in his first year. Caleb Williams did not. Like Lamar, they both came in exceptional athletes. If we really take a look one to another, Lamar figured out the quarterback aspect of being an athlete, and Caleb Williams is still trying to be the athlete. And it's like you got to kind of put that aside for a second, learn quarterback, like learn how to be a true quarterback.
I
And
say
then
learn how to not be antsy in the pocket. Once he does
exactly,
that, then I think
exactly,
you can see him playing within structure with Ben Johnson going forward, and then hopefully that can help elevate this offense to another level because
yeah,
they have the talent.
yeah. But it
Just
almost feels like, correct me if I'm wrong, it just feels like a type of hire to where there's going to be expectations, and they might start out the same as they did this past season. Like, holy cow, the Bears, like, for real, are we doing this? Caleb Williams, the guy, what are we doing? And but it
Well,
feels like a
to be
very
fair, I think the beginning of this year was more of the defense was actually
co-
playing at an elite level more
correct.
than Caleb was actually. Caleb was helping
He
them.
wasn't throwing
He
touchdowns
wasn't
at
making
all,
them
but
lose.
he was exactly. He was literally just completing passes. I don't even think he had a touchdown pass until week three,
I
week
think so, maybe. Yeah.
yeah,
So
I can't. Yeah, correct us if we're wrong in the comments, obviously. But anyway, it just feels like a fragile locker room going into next season because there's going to be those expectations again. And once things start going bad, I think it's going to go really bad. Is the other thing. So I don't know. That's just my opinion. Um, I think Pete Carroll next. Pete Carroll from the top rope. Here come the Raiders. Let's go. What do you
yeah.
think?
I'm guessing that this is Brady trying to get his own version of a Belichick in a way, to where,
Interesting.
let's be honest, Brady is kind of running the team from behind the scenes. The
Yeah.
guy that they have brought in, John Spytek, one, amazing name. I will
Yes.
give credit where credit is due.
Agreed.
Two, he was the assistant GM in Tampa whenever Brady had left New England. So, and plus also they were teammates in Michigan.
Okay. Well,
Yeah. So I think this is more or less to a degree. Brady just wanting to have a coach who has the Belichick role of being in charge of the team that he gets put in, because that is what Pete Carroll will do as well. Pete Carroll is a culture builder, kind of like Dan Campbell. He makes sure he has the players buy into his system.
right.
And if they do not buy into his system, you will not play for Pete Carroll. It is that simple.
Yeah. And I'm glad they didn't drag it out to hire a guy like Pete Carroll. I think this is a type of hire that you got to make in January. You can't kind of drag it into February with
Yeah.
any hire, really. You don't want to do that. But it just felt like the Raiders, it was just sudden. It was
They
like,
can't be waiting for a Joe Brady or a
correct. Exactly. This situation is
Spagnuolo
dire.
if they wanted. Yeah.
Exactly. Like, it's too dire of a situation. Like this, like, you moved to Vegas, you were getting the profits. Now it's like the fans were promised something there. You still have Raiders loyal fans. I mean, you had probably Raiders fans already living in Vegas, but you have built such a brand with the Vegas Golden Knights and everything. And now you're the Las Vegas Raiders right here. And now the fans are starting to want something that you were supposed to be going forward. You've been going backward ever since you got here. So it's like, you got Max Crosby, you're wasting his years. It's so don't drag anything out. It's dire. I like that they didn't wait. Definitely surprising considering that we weren't hearing anything. There was nothing really going
There
through the
was no
wires.
rumblings until about an hour, I think, before it got
Correct.
announced, honestly.
Yeah, like, so very, very sudden. But I think I think B minus, B minus higher, I think.
I could see that.
Um, you
It is
know,
not the absolute worst in the situation at hand, but to be fair as well, you did just hire the oldest coach in the NFL.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And it's kind of no surprise. People have seen he's won he's won Super Bowls, he's won championships. Like, he's a winner. You're if you're a Raiders fan, you're not nervous. You're
Yeah.
like, oh, like kind of like a Canales, Ben Johnson, anybody that's a
Leo
first time head
Collins,
coach.
that style, yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
you're getting
all right,
certified.
so going into, I would say, before we go into the bets for this weekend, rapid fire, who do the Saints hire?
I wanted him to go after Salah, but we saw where he ended up.
Yeah, no, he went back to being in DC, which I fully agree with for
I
him.
do too. I do too. I just wanted to, I don't know, a cool mix up for him. I think he would look good over there,
I
especially
think
the
it's going to be
Saints.
someone in the same mold. I think it's either going to be McCarthy or Rizzi. I think they might keep Rizzi,
Put me
especially
down
with
for Rizzy.
vets like Kamara wanting to play for him. I think maybe.
I think that's it too. And plus, we know the Saints, they're going to keep players around, especially that where even if they're past their prime, they're going to let certain star players, just because of what they did 3 years ago, 4 years ago, have a say and stuff. My money's also probably on Rizzy. Um, Mike McCarthy would be really interesting. I think I don't think that would be a smart thing to do. I think that would definitely
Oh no,
split the
I
locker room.
agree, but I feel like this is more of a gut feeling take than anything. Um, I also don't think Mike McCarthy wants to be out of the league for too long. I feel like he wants to continue try and stay relevant,
Right.
especially outside of Jerry. I think he wants to prove that he can still win outside of Dallas, so that way he can get
Yeah.
potentially, I'd say, another job going forward outside of New Orleans.
Interesting. Yeah, I like it though. I like it. But we'll go ahead. Just let us know anything else you want us to hit on the coaches for a future episode. Put it in the comments below. But we'll go ahead and go. I'll let Cody lead this next segment we're going into.
Yeah, I'll just go ahead, push into this really quick. We kind of already covered the games coming up for this past week, but I wanted to go over some of the player props that I saw that I kind of actually really like that I wanted to possibly put into a parlay, but if not, I would say at least go three straight so that way you are not risking too much. So the first one is James Cook, 50 plus rushing yards. That's at minus 165 on FanDuel. He has hit this number in 5 out of the last 6 games, with the exception being against New England. And that New England game, they pulled the starters after the first drive.
Okay. Okay.
So he is consistent whenever it comes to hitting this line. He averages 16 and a quarter rushing attempts in the last 4 weeks, and the team has been leaning on him, I would say, for the main workload of carries outside of Josh Allen. Once they get within the goal line, it's kind of a coin toss, so that's why I didn't really want to put James Cook anytime touchdown, because I feel like in the postseason they've been relying more on Josh Allen.
So yeah, I was gonna say, so you're not worried about it is the typical playoff Chiefs for the annual, I would like to say, Chiefs versus Bills playoff matchup. Are you not worried about Pat Mahomes and Josh Allen being let loose and James Cook probably runs the ball 15 times for 42 yards?
I
As
do
they,
think that could be a possibility. But
so
with the
okay, guys,
workload,
don't be afraid to fade it too, because
yeah,
we have no clue what we're talking about. So go ahead.
I'm not an expert in English
This is
shape or
this is
form.
what
This is
Cody wants
not
to do.
gambling advice. Please do not follow this line. I am going to not hit this weekend. But
It's interesting to look at.
exactly. This is whatever you think too in deep, and then you just start overthinking everything.
There you go. Good job.
And then also, I think the biggest thing was the last 3 weeks, the time of possession battle between the two teams. Buffalo has been averaging 34 minutes of time of possession compared to 24 for Kansas City.
Okay.
So I think the biggest thing is going to be if Buffalo is able to get ahead early in this game, they will then be able to churn out a lot of clock with longer drives and extended plays. And then hopefully that will allow you to hit this threshold.
Agreed.
Is my thinking behind this.
I like it.
So that was the first leg. The second part I have here is Devontae Smith, 40 plus receiving yards. That's at minus 172.
I think he hits it, but they lose. That's my thing. Because did you hear about that stat with Jalen Hurts? Anytime he throw and again, put the whole, if you know it, put it in the comments, or we can maybe post an edit later or whatever. But I think every single time Jalen Hurts throws for over 150 yards, they lose. And every time he has thrown for 125 or less, they win.
Like Army style football.
That's what I'm saying. Well, when you got Saquon, the best certified best running back in the league.
Yeah. Like, and then you yourself are essentially a running back.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, like, yeah. Hey, I think that's how they get to the Super Bowl. That's the only way they do. So, but yeah, go ahead.
That's fair. But also at the same time, he had hit this line in 4 straight games before what I'm calling the Saquon game against the Rams. But also at the same time, there was so much snowfall in that game during it that it didn't really allow for passing to be a factor as much.
And I don't think there's going to be any snow in either game, but it's going to be
I don't believe so. I did check for the Philly game. I didn't see any forecast for that one. I'm not sure about Kansas City, but I expect both of them to be.
You know what? Go ahead and start laying out your next leg, and then I'll jump in with the weather for each one after your.
But he's averaging about 75 yards a game at home compared to 45 on the road, even though it is smaller sample. Actually, in a smaller sample size, 8 games at home compared to 5 on the road. He said, why am I saying he said? When targeted, Jalen Hurts has a 106.2 QBR compared to 39.6 when he's been targeting A.J. Brown in these playoffs. So I feel like whenever it comes to clutch moments, so third or fourth quarter, I feel like he might be leaning more on the sureness of Devontae rather than the explosiveness of A.J. Brown.
I can see that.
And the only two career postseason games he hasn't hit this line um, was against the 49ers whenever they were playing against the Josh Johnson 49ers. So they didn't have to throw the ball at all in
Yeah.
that game. And the snow game last week.
I will say forecast is just looking cold and clear in Kansas City, Missouri. And then the forecast for Philly is cloudy, no chances of snow that I saw. I mean, we're going to have pretty accurate reports at this point. We're filming this 5 o'clock in the afternoon, evening on Saturday. So we got a pretty good look at it. It's going to be cold games. So it is going to be, I expect maybe if there's a player prop, I don't know, Cody can maybe look into it, post it on our Instagram too. Like, hey, how many extra points is Jake Elliott going to miss? Because it's going to be a hard ball. So I would definitely take the over on that one. But hopefully, let's just say it's going to be very cold in the definitely colder in the Kansas City Buffalo game. So hopefully for either side, it doesn't come down to a hey, we're down by two. All we need is a field goal because that is going to be a rock solid
That's
ball.
what's been one of the most consistent kickers over the past month, 2 months and a half, and then the most OCD human I have ever seen step foot onto a football field in Zane Gonzalez.
Yeah. I think that was wild. Whatever he needs to do, to be honest, I'm going for Commanders.
He almost
Sorry,
missed it.
Philly.
He
That's what I'm
almost
saying.
missed that one that we
Hey,
saw.
hey, but maybe he was far. Maybe like he was going to be that far right. So however many times he flicked his hair over,
Yeah,
it was
it
bringing him back in.
counterbalanced the
So
play.
hey, I mean, if he would have done it one more time, we're right down the middle.
That's
So
just like using a torque wrench. It's just pulling it.
that's what
Just pulling the leg this
that's what I
way.
think happened. He was like
Gonna
that.
wind it up.
He said, "Yeah, that should do it." Yeah, yeah. So,
Oh, good.
but
All
go
right, but
ahead,
the
keep
final
going.
leg that I got going into this three-legger is Zach Ertz, 3.5 receptions, minus 144. He has become the security blanket outside of Terry McLaurin. He has hit 4 targets, 8 out of the last 10 games. He's going to place, or Jaden Daniels is going to be facing a lot of pressure from, I feel like, this defense, especially with Sam Cosme coming out of the lineup. He's probably going to be missing this game.
Right,
So Jalen Carter, Milton Williams are going to be bringing a lot of pressure up the middle.
as
If
they
they're able to
always do.
contain Jaden Daniels, if he's not able to buy a lot of time, he's going to have to find his quick tight end over the
See,
middle.
and here's where it kind of comes down to, and this is so that was a great parlay. Again, let us know.
Yeah, it's going to be plus 302 on FanDuel. All this was from yesterday. The odds could have changed now. I'm honestly not sure. So just
Yep.
look at that if you want to.
So I will say, I think, I just want to kind of wrap up. We're going to do another quick preview, kind of going off of what you just said. If they are able to keep contained, I think as a Commanders fan, you got to feel comfortable with it. I feel better with Jaden Daniels than I would Jalen Hurts. As far as if we're able to contain one, at least Jaden Daniels can still beat you with his arm. Jalen Hurts would be a little, I don't know, it depends. Maybe he all of a sudden comes alive because he does
They
have the
might have to then
capability.
start doing quick screen game and
Yeah,
just get the ball out of his hand if
but the problem
you're trying to
is
stay up.
I think that's a +1 for Commanders, but the thing is, Commanders don't really have a weapon like Saquon in the backfield that they can just all of a sudden emergency handoff to. So it's going to be interesting. I think final thoughts. You're probably Eagles. Is this cut and dry for you, or
There's what I want, and then there's what I think. What I want is, of course, a Bills Commander Super Bowl.
that would be
Um,
amazing? Same. Yes.
but what I think is going to happen is, I think Josh Allen is finally going to get the monkey off his back. I do think that one is going to happen. I think Bills, but I do think it's going to be Eagles this time. I think we're going to have another Saquon game. I think this is just going to be the year of Saquon, honestly, going forward.
Yeah. I think you're right. But then again, who knows?
As much as I don't want it to be, because y'all can tag me in comments, whatever. I don't care. Eagles fans, whenever they are winning, are not the most fun fans to be around.
But also, it kind of gives you a
Your
grace.
coworker. Your coworker is at least one of the few nice ones that I have met.
That is true. I will say though, there's a grace period though that kind of it's coming up on. The reason why they're getting a little more annoying than usual is because they haven't won it since what 2017 was it that 2017 season. So I mean, do they win so that way we can have at least 3 years of peace?
No, I know. Absolutely not. No. I would still rather them annoy the crap out of me and suffer along with me as a Panthers fan.
Now, here's the thing, though. I think if you're a Giants or a Cowboys fan, I think you are watching the AFC Championship with everybody else. You're rooting for the Bills, I'm guessing. You can't really stand Kansas City because or maybe you feel for Kansas City. Maybe you're an old enough Cowboys fan to be like, yeah, I remember when the world was against us in the '90s. But who cares about that? Because the Cowboys suck. Anyway,
What about the moon?
right, right. My thing is, if you're a Giants or Cowboys fan and you're watching the NFC Championship, sit back, relax, and then fall asleep and dream about the meteor just hitting the field and just demolishing both franchises. That's what you can probably go for. I don't see much to root for in this game. It just goes to show you that, especially Cowboys fans, that you guys have no clue what you're doing. The Commanders fixed it in 1 year with a new owner. And it's just kind of hilarious how this has turned on you. And the Eagles are also just laughing in your faces. Giants, y'all have won 2 Super Bowls in recent
The
history.
Giants GM's son is a better GM than the Giants GM because he literally said in Hard Knocks to draft Jaden Daniels.
Yeah, and he said you're gonna regret it. You get a one chance. What do you say? You get one chance at this job. You don't want to suck or something like that.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, yeah. So
So
he
the kid, I
sucks.
think the kid was on something,
Yeah,
but a lot better than Brick Johnson,
I will
the
agree. I will
the
agree.
Jets owner's son,
Yeah,
picking
Madden
players off
ratings.
of their Madden ratings. So
Yeah. Oh man, Aaron Glenn, please fix it. Please fix it, just for Jets fans' sake. Um, anyway, guys, that's gonna be it. We'll be back um, maybe Sunday night. Just look out for us. It'll probably be a nice back to back weekend for videos. It depends on our schedules. We might even hit it. We'll hit it as close to Sunday as we can to kind of put in our reviews. And Prevo may or may not be joining us for that one. We will see. But other than that, Cody, take it away.
so long, stay average.